Yo, stop scrolling right now because what just hit the timeline is about to split the culture straight down the middle. At 2:17 a.m., while most of y'all were asleep, a shadow link started circulating in private group chats, burner telegrams, and invite-only discords. No rollout, no warning. Just a cold file name that sent chills through the industry. Iceman _final _V3. And within minutes, fans were panicking, insiders were scrambling, and phones inside OVO allegedly started blowing up. Because if this is real, if this is really Drake's Iceman album, then this isn't just a leak. This is a crisis. Fans are shocked. Emotions ran high, and the whispers got ugly fast. Some people are saying this project was never supposed to see daylight. Others are claiming this album was shelved for a reason so dark that even Drake's closest circle didn't want it resurfacing. We're hearing talk of internal betrayal, loyalty being tested, and a line being crossed that you don't come back from. One producer allegedly jumped ship. One longtime friend supposedly went silent, and now the word boycott is trending in spaces it's never trended before. Here's where it gets crazy. Certain fans swear the music sounds unfinished, but too honest, too raw. Like this wasn't meant for charts, but for confession. Lyrics that feel like shots, bars that feel like warnings. And now the question everyone's asking in hushed tones, was this leak an accident? Or was it revenge? Yeah, because if this album wasn't supposed to drop, then somebody wanted it out. And if somebody wanted it out, that means somebody wanted chaos. The family was left divided. The fan base is turning on itself. And Drake? Silent. The chaos didn't start on Twitter the way most rap world explosions do. It started quieter, nastier, the kind of silence that feels wrong before the storm hits. Screenshots began floating around from private listening rooms, of fans claiming they heard something they weren't supposed to hear. At first, it sounded like Cap, another late-night clout grab, but then familiar voices started moving funny. Engineers stopped tweeting. OVO-affiliated pages went dark. And fans noticed Drake hadn't liked, posted, or subtweeted anything in over 12 hours, which for someone that calculated, that was loud. Real loud. Emotions ran high because the rumors weren't just about music anymore. They were about control. Inside the alleged leak, listeners say the tone is colder than anything Drake's ever released. No glossy hooks, no radio-friendly bridges, just icy, clipped verses that sound like they were recorded in the middle of sleepless nights. One fan who claimed to have heard the full project said it felt like watching someone burn bridges in real time. Another said it sounded like Drake wasn't talking to the audience at all. He was talking to people who already knew they were guilty. But fans are shocked because the bars don't sound accidental. They sound intentional, surgical, like names were removed, but the messages stayed sharp enough for insiders to feel exposed. And then the betrayal rumors hit. Word started spreading that the leak didn't come from some random hacker, but from inside the camp. Someone trusted. Someone tired of waiting. Allegedly, Iceman wasn't delayed because of marketing. It was delayed because it was causing problems behind the scenes. One insider claimed arguments broke out after a private playback where Drake refused to remove certain verses. Voices were raised, doors were slammed, and one person allegedly said, "If this drops, everything changes." That line alone sent fans spiraling. Everything changes how? Contracts, relationships, legacies. What made things worse was how fans reacted to the content. Some immediately defended Drake, saying this was the most honest he's sounded in years. Others felt uncomfortable, saying it crossed lines that didn't need to be crossed. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Emotions ran high as longtime supporters questioned whether they were supposed to support an album that might hurt people Drake once called family. The family was left divided. Not just his actual circle, but the fan base itself. Day one supporters arguing with newer fans, insiders subtweeting each other, and reaction channels scrambling to decide whether to even play snippets without backlash. Then came the boycott talk. That's when everything escalated. A few prominent fan accounts posted long threads saying the album shouldn't be streamed if it officially drops, claiming it was weaponized pain and industry revenge music. Others fired back instantly, saying boycotting Drake was impossible and performative. Screenshots of group chats leaked showing people arguing over whether listening made you complicit. One message that went viral simply said, "If he didn't want us to hear it, why did it exist?" That question lit the fuse. Behind the scenes, reactions were reportedly just as messy. One longtime collaborator was rumoured to have called the leak career-ending if mishandled. Another allegedly cut communication entirely. Fans noticed that certain artists Drake usually interacts with suddenly stopped engaging altogether. No likes, no emojis, no subtle support. Silence. And in the rap world, silence is never neutral. It's strategic. It's distance. What really shook people was the idea that Iceman might not be an album meant to win. It might be an album meant to settle scores. Listeners pointed out lyrics that sounded like apologies twisted into accusations, love turned into resentment. Fans are shocked because this wasn't the Drake who jokes on IG captions or laughs through interviews. This sounded like someone who felt cornered, someone who felt betrayed first. And now the narrative was shifting from Drake got leaked to Drake was pushed. As the night went on, more alleged details surfaced. One rumour claimed the project was locked away after a heated disagreement involving money and ownership. Another claimed the leak happened right after Drake refused to renegotiate something behind closed doors. No one could confirm anything, but that didn't stop the speculation from growing legs. Reaction videos popped up dissecting lyrics line by line, pausing every bar like it was evidence in a trial. Fans argued whether certain verses were shots at former allies or warnings to current ones. Every interpretation felt heavier than the last. And through all of this, Drake said nothing. No denial, no explanation. No, this is fake. That's what kept the fire alive. Because if it wasn't real, wouldn't it be shut down immediately? The silence felt calculated or exhausted. Either way, it scared people. And fans are shocked not just by what they think they heard, but by what they aren't hearing from him now. By sunrise, Iceman wasn't just a rumoured leak anymore. It was a cultural question mark. Is this art or ammunition? Was this album stolen or was it set free? And if a boycott really starts, what does that mean for an artist whose entire career has been built on staying ahead of the narrative? The drama was no longer contained. It was spilling into timelines, friendships, and loyalties. And nobody could agree on who was wrong, who was hurt, or who made the first move. All anyone knew for sure was that whatever Iceman is, it already changed something, and there was no putting it back in the freezer now. By mid-morning, the industry response stopped being subtle and started feeling defensive. Playlists quietly removed Drake's name. Bloggers who usually race to post first hesitated, posting vague captions instead of headlines. One media insider tweeted, then deleted, or a single sentence that sent fans into a frenzy. "This isn't about music anymore." That line alone made emotions run high, because it confirmed what people were already sensing. Something behind the scenes had gone left, and fast. Fans are shocked not just by the leak, but by how many people suddenly seemed nervous to even touch the conversation. More alleged details began surfacing from people claiming to have been present during early sessions. According to one widely shared account, the album originally had a different name and a very different purpose. It wasn't meant to be a commercial release. It was described as documentation, a word that spooked a lot of people once it caught traction. Fans started asking why an artist at Drake's level would record something not meant for the public unless he felt like he needed to protect himself. That's when accusations started flying. Some claimed Iceman was a response to private betrayals. Others insisted it was leverage, a reminder that Drake knows more than he's ever said. The emotional conflict deepened when supposed lyrics leaked online in text form. Lines that hinted at broken trust, money disputes, and people switching sides once power shifted. Fans are shocked by how specific the language feels without ever naming names. That vagueness made it worse. Everyone started inserting their own theories, their own villains. Reaction channels replayed the same 4 bars over and over, arguing whether the tone sounded hurt or threatening. One creator said it felt like Drake was mourning relationships while simultaneously daring people to test him. That contradiction made the story explode even further. Behind the scenes, the ripple effects were allegedly immediate. One rumor claimed a high-level meeting was called within hours, involving lawyers and executives scrambling to figure out how the leak happened and what could be done next. Another rumor claimed Drake refused to attend, choosing instead to isolate completely. Fans noticed the symbolism instantly. They pointed out how often Drake has used isolation as a theme when he feels misunderstood or cornered. Emotions ran high as supporters argued whether this silence meant guilt, exhaustion, or strategy. Meanwhile, the boycott conversation kept mutating. It wasn't just about not streaming anymore, it became about sending a message. Some fans argued that supporting the album meant supporting chaos. Others fired back, saying silencing an artist for telling his side was the real problem. The family was left divided in a very public way. Fan pages that once collaborated unfollowed each other. Group chats leaked showing friendships cracking over whether Drake crossed an ethical line by even recording something like Iceman. It wasn't fun debate anymore. It was personal. Then came the alleged voicemail. Late that evening, a distorted audio clip surfaced, supposedly from someone close to the situation. The voice claimed the leak wasn't accidental and that Drake had been warned something like this would happen if he didn't play ball. The internet lost its mind. Fans are shocked because the clip sounded raw, unpolished, emotional. Whether it was real or not almost didn't matter. It fit the narrative too perfectly. The idea that this album was caught in a power struggle made everything feel darker. What added fuel to the fire was how other artists reacted, or didn't. People Drake once publicly praised avoided his name entirely. No defense, no condemnation, just distance. Fans read into every move. A single like from a rival artist on a boycott tweet sparked 1,000 theories. Was that shade? Was that alignment? Was that opportunistic silence? In this climate, nothing felt accidental. Every emoji, every unfollow, every delayed response felt loaded. As the story grew, so did the emotional stakes. Longtime fans shared stories of how Drake's music helped them through breakups, losses, and lonely nights. They felt conflicted, like they were watching someone they rooted for unravel publicly. Others felt validated, saying they always believed Drake carried unresolved resentment beneath the polished image. Emotions ran high as people projected their own experiences onto the situation, turning the leak into something larger than one artist. It became about power, a loyalty, and what happens when someone finally stops protecting everyone else's secrets. Late into the night, a final rumor began circulating that changed the tone again. According to multiple anonymous posts, Iceman wasn't fully leaked. What people heard was only a portion. And the unreleased tracks were allegedly even more intense. That revelation shifted the energy from outrage to fear. Fans are shocked because if that's true, then what's already out might just be the tip of something much bigger, something Drake either lost control of or hasn't decided to unleash yet. By the end of the day, nobody was asking whether the leak was real anymore. They were asking what happens next. Does Drake respond? Does the album officially drop? Does the boycott gain real momentum? Or does curiosity win? The culture was holding its breath, refreshing timelines, replaying snippets, and arguing in circles. One thing was clear. Whatever Iceman represents, it cracked something open. And once secrets start leaking, they rarely stop on their own. As the second night rolled in, the narrative took an even sharper turn. And this is where things started feeling uncomfortably real for a lot of people watching from the sidelines. Private DMs began leaking, not from random fans, but from individuals claiming close proximity to the situation. Screenshots showed frantic messages, people asking, "Who else has it? And how far did it spread?" Emotions ran high because the tone wasn't anger anymore. It was panic. Fans are shocked when panic replaces outrage, because panic usually means something valuable slipped out of someone's hands. One particular screenshot lit the internet on fire. It allegedly showed a message saying, "This was never supposed to leave the room." That sentence alone shifted the energy completely. Now the story wasn't just about Drake being exposed, it was about other people possibly being exposed with him. Fans started revisiting the lyrics they'd already heard, reinterpreting lines that once sounded emotional and now felt incriminating. Bars that seemed vague earlier suddenly felt targeted. It was like the album was being decoded in reverse, with each rumor unlocking a new meaning. At the same time, whispers started circulating about pressure from multiple directions. Not just labels, or not just executives, friends, mentors, people who'd benefited from proximity for years. Allegedly, Drake was urged to scrap the entire project and move on quietly, but according to one insider account, that suggestion didn't land well. The source claimed Drake responded by saying he was done carrying weight that wasn't his. Fans are shocked by that phrasing because it implies this wasn't just about hurt feelings. It was about responsibility, about blame, about who's been protected and who's been blamed behind closed doors. Then the family angle resurfaced in a heavier way. Not blood relatives, but chosen family. People Drake once referred to as brothers. Fans noticed old interviews resurfacing, clips where Drake talked about loyalty, about keeping people fed, about never forgetting who was there early. Those clips hit differently now. Emotions ran high as viewers questioned whether those same people were still standing beside him or quietly stepping back to save themselves. The family was left divided in the most public way possible, through silence. Another twist came when an alleged producer from the sessions went live briefly before cutting the stream abruptly. Viewers who caught it claimed the person looked shaken, repeating, "Y'all don't understand what this really is." That line echoed everywhere within minutes. Fans are shocked because it suggested the public narrative was still missing key pieces, that this wasn't just an album leak, but the aftermath of a long simmering conflict finally boiling over. The boycott conversation grew louder, but it also grew messier. Some fans started accusing others of being fake supporters, saying real loyalty meant respecting the fact that the music wasn't supposed to be heard yet. Others argued that once something exists, it's fair game, especially if it speaks truth. Emotions ran high as people stopped debating the music and started attacking each other's morals. Friendships fractured in comment sections. Longtime mutuals blocked each other over opposing takes. It wasn't about Drake anymore. It was about identity, about what kind of fan you are when things get ugly. Meanwhile, Drake's silence began to feel heavier with every hour. Fans are shocked by how intentional it seemed. No legal threats, no denial statements, or no distraction posts. Just absence. Some interpreted it as him letting the chaos expose exactly who he needed it to expose. Others believed he was regrouping, deciding whether to lean into the storm or shut it all down. Either way, the lack of response became a statement of its own, and people filled in the blanks with their worst assumptions. Late that night, a new rumor quietly started gaining traction. According to multiple anonymous accounts, Iceman wasn't meant to drop now because it was supposed to come with receipts, visuals, proof, context. Fans are shocked by this claim because it reframes everything. If true, then hearing the music alone was only half the story, and hearing it without context may have been the most dangerous version of it. That idea made some fans uneasy, wondering if the leak was designed to strip the narrative of its balance. As conversations deepened, as some supporters began expressing genuine concern for Drake's mental state, they pointed out patterns, how every time he's been publicly questioned or cornered, his work turns colder, more detached. Emotions ran high as people debated whether this was healthy expression or self-destruction in real time. Critics accused him of playing victim. Defenders argued he was finally refusing to be silent. The divide grew wider by the hour. By the end of the third day, and the culture felt exhausted but addicted. Everyone wanted resolution, but no one wanted the conversation to end. Because if it ended, that meant answers would have to come. And answers, in this case, might force people to pick sides for real. Fans are shocked not just by the leak, but by how much it revealed about loyalty, power, and how quickly admiration can turn into suspicion. One thing became impossible to ignore. Iceman had already done damage without ever officially dropping. Relationships felt strained, narratives shifted, trust eroded, and whether Drake intended it or not, the album had become a mirror, reflecting back everyone's assumptions, biases, and fears. The family was left divided, the fans were restless, and the industry was watching closely, waiting to see whether Drake would break the silence, or let it speak for him. By the fourth day, the atmosphere around the situation felt thick, like everyone knew they were standing too close to something volatile. The conversation shifted from speculation to strategy. Fans noticed that certain narratives were being pushed harder than others, almost like damage control in real time. Some accounts suddenly framed the leak as unfinished demos, while others insisted it was a deliberate smear campaign. Emotions ran high because the messaging felt coordinated, and fans are shocked when organic chaos suddenly starts to look organized. That's when people began asking who was actually benefiting from the confusion. Behind closed doors, the rumors got darker. Allegedly, meetings were happening without Drake present. People speaking on his behalf. People claiming to know his intentions. That alone rubbed supporters the wrong way. Fans are shocked because Drake has always been hands-on with his narrative, and the idea that others were now steering the story felt off. One viral post claimed he was being protected from himself, a phrase that instantly split the timeline. Protected by who? From what? And why now? The emotional conflict deepened when longtime fans started revisiting Drake's entire career arc. They pulled up old lyrics about paranoia, about fake love, about being surrounded but alone. Suddenly, those lines felt less like bars and more like warnings that went ignored. Emotions ran high as people admitted they might have laughed off things that were actually cries for understanding. Others pushed back, saying success doesn't excuse resentment. The family was left divided again, this time between empathy and accountability. Then came the alleged cease and desist wave. Multiple small creators claimed they received warnings about playing or discussing certain clips. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Trying to suppress the conversation only made it louder. Fans are shocked when power moves backfire, and this one backfired spectacularly. Screenshots of warning emails spread fast, with captions asking why something fake needed legal pressure. That question reignited doubts about the official story and added fuel to the belief that Iceman was very real and very dangerous. At the same time, a new layer of betrayal rumors surfaced. This time, the focus wasn't on who leaked the album, but who allegedly knew about the leak ahead of time. Names started circulating in coded language. People were accused of sitting on the file, waiting for the right moment. Fans are shocked because the idea of calculated silence feels worse than an impulsive mistake. Emotions ran high as people debated whether loyalty in the industry even exists anymore, or if everyone's just waiting for leverage. What truly shook the culture was how personal the discourse became. Fans weren't just arguing about Drake, they were projecting their own experiences with betrayal, abandonment, and trust. Comment sections turned into confessional spaces. People shared stories about being burned by friends, about being blamed for situations they didn't create. Iceman became a symbol rather than just a project. The family was left divided not just over Drake, but over how people believe pain should be handled, quietly or loudly. Oh, another twist arrived when an anonymous post claimed Drake had actually heard about the leak before it went public and chose not to stop it. That rumor hit like a bomb. Fans are shocked by the implication that this chaos might be controlled. If true, then the silence wasn't weakness. It was permission. Emotions ran high as people reinterpreted everything again, asking whether Drake was letting the industry expose itself without him saying a word. Meanwhile, our reactions from outside hip-hop started creeping in. Commentators who usually ignore rap drama weighed in on themes of exploitation and ownership. That crossover attention made things feel bigger, heavier. It wasn't just rap gossip anymore. It was a conversation about who gets to tell their story and who gets silenced when the story is inconvenient. Fans are shocked when a music leak turns into a cultural debate, but that's exactly what was happening. Late that evening, a final rumor for the day changed the emotional temperature once again. According to multiple posts, Drake was seen entering a studio not to record, but to listen. Alone. No entourage. No cameras. That image spread fast because it humanized everything. Emotions ran high imagining someone at the center of a storm sitting with the noise he didn't ask for but couldn't escape. Supporters felt sympathy. Critics saw calculation. The family was left divided yet again. By the time the night wrapped, now one truth was undeniable. Iceman no longer belonged to Drake alone. It belonged to the narrative machine, to the fans arguing in circles, to the industry watching its reflection uncomfortably. Fans are shocked by how fast admiration turned into interrogation and how silence became louder than any diss track. Whatever happens next, whether the album drops, disappears, or mutates into something else entirely, the damage and the dialogue are already permanent. And everyone knows the next move, and or lack of one is going to decide how this story is remembered. Before we wrap this up, let's be clear. This story is far from over, and the next move could flip everything you think you know. Iceman isn't just an album anymore. It's a question mark hanging over the culture. Was this a betrayal from the inside or a controlled burn that Drake allowed to expose cracks that were already there? Fans are shocked because no matter which side you're on, something about this situation doesn't sit right. Too many silences, too many careful moves, too many people suddenly choosing distance. Emotions ran high all week, and they're not cooling down anytime soon. Some fans are calling for a full boycott, saying this is the moment to draw a line. Others are saying the boycott is exactly what certain people want, and refusing to listen is playing into a bigger game. The family was left divided, supporters versus skeptics, loyalty versus accountability, art versus consequences. And Drake, still quiet, still watching, still letting the noise speak. Now here's where you come in. Do you think Iceman was never supposed to drop because it exposes too much? Or do you believe this leak was the only way the truth could surface? Is the boycott valid, or is it performative? And most importantly, if the full project officially drops tomorrow, are you pressing play or standing back? This is one of those moments that'll be referenced years from now, when people ask where the culture shifted. So don't just watch, be part of the conversation. Drop your thoughts in the comments, argue your side, bring receipts, respectfully or not. If this video made you think twice, hit that like button so the algorithm knows this conversation matters. Subscribe if you want updates as this story develops, because trust, this is not the last twist. And remember, silence is never empty, it's loaded.